So today I'm going to show you how I make my little trinket dishes. So simple, great project for a beginner if you've never used air dried clay before, and I'm going to do a step-by-step tutorial of how I make mine. So we're going to get started. This is the air dry clay that I'm going to be using for this project. I got this off of Amazon. I'll put a link down below in the description for this product, and you can also find it at the dollar store, and it works just as well. Break off a piece of the clay of the size of the project that you want to make, and then I like using these two little pieces of wood. They're a nice guide for when you're rolling out. They're about 1/4 of an inch thick, and the rolling pin will only allow you to roll it to that thickness, and it'll be even across your whole project that you're rolling out. After you've taken your clay out of the package, make sure you put it back in a sealable plastic bag because you don't want the air getting at it and having it dry out. So store it really well. It's all rolled out nice and even, and now we're ready to start the project. For this first little dish, I'm going to use one of these stencils. I bought these stencils on Amazon. I think it came in a package of 10, and this is the one that I'm going to pick out. Place your stencil right on top, centered on the air dry clay, and then you're going to put your guides on and just gently roll your rolling pin back and forth so you can have that impression of the stencil in your air dried clay. And when you peel off the stencil, you'll see the beautiful imprint that it makes. You can see all the raised texture from rolling that into the air dry clay. I'm going to use this wooden bowl that I found at the thrift store as a template to cut around where I put that stencil. I'm just going to lay it gently down on the air dry clay. You don't want to press it down because when you do, it's going to kind of squish the clay down and not make a nice pretty edge. So I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and just trace around that whole bowl so it's got a little bit of a rippled edge, which I really like. And I'm going to go around the whole bowl and then take off the excess air dry clay. Make sure you're doing this on a work surface that it doesn't matter if you maybe put little nicks and dents in your table. This is my craft table, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to gently lift off that bowl and just peel away any of that excess air dry clay around the edge so I have the rippled edge all along that whole stenciled area. And I'm just going to dip my fingers in a little bit of water just to smooth that edge and just make it nice and pretty. Okay, now we need some cling wrap. You're just going to cut off the size of the bowl that we're doing, and we're going to set that air dried clay that we just did inside the bowl, and as it dries it will take the shape of that bowl, and the saran wrap will prevent it from sticking. Just very gently, you don't want to touch it too much where we've gone over with the stencil. Just very gently, just push it into that bowl so it molds to that shape. Make sure your cling wrap isn't wrinkled too much, and now we're ready just to set it aside and let it dry. The process of drying will determine your weather and how hot or cold it is in your area. Okay, now we're ready to do the second one, and we're going to roll it out the same way. Use the little pieces of wood so it's all the same thickness. If you have a chance, you should go on Pinterest, or I'll put a link to my Pinterest below because I have a board just for air dry clay, and there's so many projects that you can do with this. I kind of don't even know where to start when I get in that Pinterest downward spiral, because really it's unbelievable what you can make with this air dry clay. And for this second trinket dish, I'm going to use this doily that I have. I'm going to lay it right in the center. And again, I'm just going to use my rolling pin and just gently roll back and forth until I've got that doily imprinted into that air dry clay. And this doily makes an amazing texture in this clay. I'm just going to very gently just lift it up so we don't distort it at all. And isn't this fantastic? Look at the texture from that doily. You'll find if you start making these that you'll be looking around your house for anything that has texture that you can use for your air dry clay projects. Now this one I'm going to use this round bowl, and again, just going to use my X-Acto knife, cut around the edge so that it's the exact same size, and then we'll put the saran wrap in the bowl, very gently put that into the bowl and let it dry. These make really great gifts too, and they're affordable, and they're usually one of a kind, so it's nice when you can give that to somebody as a gift. And the only thing is you have to kind of remember that you've got to let it set aside, and sometimes it takes a day or two for it to completely dry before you're ready to finish it off. So you have to take that into account if you are making it for a gift. I'm just going to very gently put the saran wrap in, make sure there's not very many wrinkles in it, and just set that right in the bowl very gently, because you don't want to press too hard and lose any of that texture that you just made, and press it right in, set it aside, and let it dry. And now we're ready to do the last one. Roll it out so it's all the same thickness. And I have a little plastic dish that I'm going to use as my template for this one, so I'm rolling it out to make sure that it's the same size so I can cut around it. Okay, now this is fun. This is a piece of drawer liner from the dollar store, and it has such a neat texture to it when you roll it out. You won't believe how cool this is when you roll the rolling pin across it, just really gently, just so you can get that texture through in that air dry clay. And just look at the imprint that it makes on that air dry clay. It is so cool, almost like a diamond grid. And I'm just going to put that dish over top, and again, take my X-Acto knife, cut around the edge so it's all nice and even, and then take off the excess air dry clay. I'm just going to really gently lift it up off that table. You don't want to distort it or lose any of that imprint that you just put on it. And I'm going to just take my fingers with a little bit of water, smooth out the edge so it looks really nice and pretty, and then we're ready to put it in the dish. I'm going to take the saran wrap, make sure it's no wrinkles in it, get it as flat as I can, and then just place that right in that square dish. I found the square dish was a little bit harder to get it even all around the edges. So just play with it until it looks like it's even along all four corners. And then we're just going to set them aside and let them dry. Okay, I actually was away for the weekend. I let them sit in a corner where it was nice and dry up in my craft room. So it's actually been 3 days that these have cured, and they're completely dry now. So I'm just going to really gently lift them out of the dish and take off the saran wrap, and we're ready to finish them off. You'll know when they're completely dry because there won't be any different colors of discoloration in it that look wet and then dry. It should be all one consistent color, kind of like a white chalky color. And I'm just going to take this scuff pad that I have and just gently go around all three of the pieces and just get rid of any little rough edges or any little bits, just to make a nice smooth finish. You don't want to use anything rougher than this, like a sandpaper. You just want this scour pad or scuff pad. I'll put a link down below in the description for this one that I'm using. Now we're ready to paint. I've mixed these up with my acrylic paint. You can use acrylic paint, chalk paint, latex paint, spray paint, whatever you want. It all works perfect on these. I had a bunch of acrylic paint and I had some colors that I knew that I wanted to do, so I kind of mixed them up together to get these. And I'm just going to just use a regular paintbrush and just brush it on. And now you want to make sure you get it all in the little nooks and crannies. So it might take a little bit of time because it's really textured, but it looks beautiful when it's all finished. And I love the way this scalloped dish turned out. And I'm going to paint it with this nice kind of primitive yellow. And it's just one that I mixed up a couple different colors of my acrylic paint. I put in some yellow, and then I added a little bit of some brown acrylic paint to make this color, and I'm loving it. And for the last one, I'm just going to paint it black, and I think it's going to really make that texture stand out. And I really want to seal these really well, so I'm going to use this polyurethane polyacrylic sealer spray paint, and it will seal it right up really nice. And that way you can put your little bits of jewelry or little home decor, or actually I really like the look of an air dry plant in these. And just spray the front and the back, give them a really good coat, and we'll be ready to finish them off. I thought these would be really cute if I used these little wooden beads to make feet on 2 of the dishes. So I'm just going to use my hot glue gun. I use the Gorilla hot glue, and these beads I got off of Amazon. I'm just going to glue them so they're kind of centered. I'm going to put 3 on this one, and then 4 on the black one, and that will finish it up. I love the scalloped edge on this, and the imprint from the stencil was perfect for this type of shape, and I love that yellow color. The terracotta on this using the doily is fantastic. Make sure if you're at the thrift store, pick up a doily to try this technique. And I love just the neutral color of the black and almost like the diamond pattern on this little square one. So if you haven't tried air dry clay, you've got to grab some. Get some off of Amazon or grab some at the dollar store the next time you're there and give this project a try. Leave me a comment down below if you've ever worked with air dry clay, and let me know what you think about these little dishes that I made.